So there are three primary types of charity. Two of them are obligatory and one is generic. The obligatory is the zakat on your money, number one. And number two is zakatul fitr, which is a special type of zakat that is due at the end of Ramadan. And number three is voluntary, and that is sadaqah. You give it at any time of the year, however much you want. We're going to discuss a little bit about zakat or zakatul mal. Zakatul mal is one of the essential 5 pillars of Islam. In fact, in over 36 verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala links the prayer with charity. And Allah describes the believers as those who pray and give charity. الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ. The believers are those who establish their prayers and they give their zakat. And our Prophet ﷺ told us that the religion of Islam is based on 5 pillars. There must be 5 things that are done to be a Muslim in the eyes of our Creator. Number 1, of course, is the testimony of faith. Number 2 is the daily 5 prayers, the ritual prayers, the salah that we do. Number 3 is the zakah, or the necessary charity that is given annually. Number 4 is the fasting of Ramadan. And number 5 is the pilgrimage for those who are physically and financially capable of going to Mecca. Now, the zakat on money, the zakat of al-mal, is given annually. However, the calendar that we use is of course the Islamic calendar and not the Western or the Gregorian calendar. And therefore, a Muslim living in the West needs to realize that their zakat must be given annually based on the Islamic calendar and not annually based upon the Western calendar. And as we know, the Islamic calendar is around 11 days shorter than the Western calendar. One of the easiest ways to calculate your zakat is to essentially mark out a particular day of the Islamic year that you're going to give your zakat every single year. For example, the 20th of Ramadan or the 15th of Ramadan. Now, it is not necessary to give zakat in Ramadan. You may give it at any time of the year. Nonetheless, it is not just more rewarding, it's also more practical because people are in the spirit and in the mood, and also because it is something that, generally speaking, the ummah has kind of sort of gravitated to. Most of the Muslims, they calculate their zakat in Ramadan. So it does make sense if you as well make a particular day of Ramadan. Let's say the 15th, or make it the 20th, and you get the blessings of the last 10 days of Ramadan. So the 20th of Ramadan, for example. So every 20th of Ramadan, every single year, you will calculate your zakat. Now, even though the zakat is calculated on the 20th of Ramadan, and it should be given soon after that, it is permissible to give zakat before the 20th of Ramadan, and then keep it in your mind that, oh, I have given, let's say 1,000 pounds I have given to a person who needed zakat. I donated 1,000 pounds, let's say in the month of, let's say Rabi'ul Awwal, okay, many months before Ramadan. You gave it, and you put it in your mind that, oh Allah, I've already given 1,000 pounds of zakat. So when you calculate on the 20th of Ramadan, you can deduct the 1,000 you have already given. But there is a very important condition, and that condition is that when you gave that 1,000 previously, it was in your intention, it was in your niyyah that you are giving zakat. You cannot give somebody money and then on the 20th of Ramadan backtrack and say, oh Allah, that money that I gave, I'll now change my mind and I'll say that is zakat. No, it doesn't work that way. You may give your zakat early only if it was in your intention that the money that you gave is in fact zakat. Now, who gives zakat? Zakat is given by every single Muslim who has above the nisab. And the nisab is an amount that is decided by the Sharia, by the Islamic law. And roughly it equates to around 3 ounces of gold. So roughly 3 ounces of gold, or the equivalent in cash. So whatever is the value of gold, look it up. And if you have more than the value of 3 ounces of gold for more than a year, this is what the nisab is. This is what is called the bare minimal threshold. So if you possess cash that is more than 3 ounces of gold, or obviously gold and silver, so cash or gold and silver, you do not calculate the value of the items that you use, the clothes that you wear, the car that you drive, the house that you live in. You do not calculate these things for your zakat, for your nisab, for giving charity. Rather, that is simply a daily use, and it does not come under the giving of zakat. So you do not give zakat on the value of your car. You do not give zakat on the value of your house. You do not give zakat on the clothes that you wear. You give zakat on specific items, and primarily it is your liquid assets, and which means your cash in your bank and your mutual funds or your stocks or whatnot. And you also give zakat on the gold and silver that you own. Now, if you're a business owner or you are a farmer, or you own livestock, then you need to go to a specialist. If you own a number of stores, furniture stores, gas stations, if you are a business entrepreneur, or if you are a farmer, or if you have livestock. In these three cases, you need to go to a specialist because there are other zakat rules that they need to know about. However, if you're a person who has a job, a 9-to-5 job, or whatever the job might be, and you earn an income and a salary, and you really don't have livestock, or you don't own a business, or you don't have agriculture, then the zakat is calculated on your liquid assets and on the gold and silver that you own. And the zakat is a simple 2.5% of your liquid assets and the gold and silver that you own, that you have had for the entire year. So the minimal amount that you've had for the entire year, you should have a rough idea of your wealth every single month, how much comes in, how much comes out. You look at how much you had for the entire year from the last zakat date until the current zakat date. So suppose your zakat date is the 20th of Ramadan. So from the last year 20th Ramadan to this year 20th Ramadan, you look at your overall assets and savings and whatnot, and you see what was the minimal amount that you had, and if it was above the nisab amount, then you calculate 2.5%, and that is what is necessary. Obviously, the more generous you are, the more generous Allah will be. You should always try to give a little bit more, in fact a lot more, if you are able to do so. There are a number of gray areas where Islamic law differs, and each one of you should go and consult your own local authority that you respect and whose opinion you're going to follow. As many of you are aware, Islamic law does have various positions about the more detailed rulings. So for example, pension funds, for example, long-term investments that you do not have access to, they are locked up in some fashion or form. For example, women's gold and silver. These are things that you should ask your local scholar or the person whom you trust, because realize that there is a diversity of opinions in Islamic law, and so you need to follow your own authority and respect obviously the other differences of opinion.